Okay, let's see. That back. Good. Let's see, that's off, that's off, that's on. It all looks to be live. Okay. We'll get started then. Hello! Shadowcat back with more Babylon 5. And already I see that there's people in the chat. Hello, people in the chat. Hello, Blizz. Hello, JP. I only just woke up because I slept in. I only just got everything barely thrown together, and here we are. It's gonna be something. It's alright, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it through this. So of course, starting things off, if you're here and you're not subscribed yet, make sure you do that. Hit the bell icon if you haven't done that yet, too. If you know somebody else who's also into either Starfinder or Babylon 5, then go ahead and share those. Or share it with them, rather. If you like what I'm doing, leave a like on the video. If you want to leave a comment, you can do that, too. I would like it if you would just join the Discord, though. Because, that's where we play the games, and I really want to play this one. We're building all these ships. I need to put these ships in the game, okay? I want to play with my toys. So, come join the Discord, go to the Behind the Screen channel, let me know what your availability is and what games you want to play, because I have lots of toys to play with now. So, come play with us. Forever and ever. Anyway. Getting back to Babylon 5. So the last time we were here, we finished up the Minbari, we took care of the White Star, and the White Star was actually really, really cool. I mean, I had to use a little GM fiat with that one, but it worked out really well. And while I did have to bend the rules a little bit, I didn't break them. I bent them, but I didn't break them. So that was nice. And JP says, plug the B team. Yes. So, remember how I said join the Discord and come play with us? Right now we have a game going on. It's called The B Team. It is set in the Star Trek universe, and it follows a crew of mercenaries who are posing as a delivery service as they uncover a mystery going on inside of the Alpha Quadrant. It's been going on for a very long time now. However, it is getting close to the end. Still though, there is enough time for you to join and you to play with everyone else, and of course once we finish up that one, we'll start a new game. Either we'll start a new story within the same setting, or we'll start a different setting. One or the other. So if you want to come play with us, join the Discord, go to the Behind the Screen channels, and that game runs on Friday evenings, Eastern Time, United States. So, if that works for you, come play with us. Anyway, back to Babylon 5. So, like I was saying, we did the White Star, and I may as well bring it up, just so we can look at it, because it came out really well. I was very concerned with the White Star, just because of what it is and how it works. So we'll go ahead and bring that up. Here we go. The White Star we turned into a destroyer, which worked out really well. It's smaller than most other ships, however, we managed to make it so that it punches well above its weight. So that worked out really well. It's got Mark V armor, which makes it a little tougher. A little bit tougher. And Mark V armor actually lowers its target lock ability, or its target lock defenses. However, for that, we gave it Mark VI countermeasures, which compensates for that and gives it a +5 to its overall target lock. So it is hard to hit, it is hard to damage, and it's a very tough little ship. As far as the weapons go, that's where things got interesting, because this is the first time we did a ship that had more weapons on paper than it did in the lore. So we had to get a little creative. The way I figure it is, since when you're talking size categories, a medium-sized creature is the standard, and a medium-sized creature is between 4 feet and 8 feet usually. give or take. Small creatures, though, usually cap out at about 4 feet at the extreme end. Most of them are about 3 feet tall. We're thinking like hobbits, gnomes, stuff like that. And if you're talking about large creatures tend to be between 8 to 12 feet tall, which is about double the size of a medium creature. You'll notice that it's doubling and halving when you're switching between size categories. So, since the destroyer has 2 forward heavy weapons and then it's got 4 light weapons around the rest of the ship, I said we don't need the weapons around the rest of the ship. The White Star doesn't have them. Since I've got 4 light weapons, well, that's like having 2 heavy weapons, and then 2 heavy weapons like having 1 capital weapon. And so we were able to rebuild the ship and bend the rules to give it a capital weapon. Now, technically that is the only part that violates the rules because large ships are not allowed to mount them. But we're bending the rules here to give it to it anyway. And then of course it's got 1 heavy cannon and then it's got 1 light cannon just because, oops, undo that. 1 light cannon just because I like the idea of having 1 capital, 1 heavy, 1 light. Either way, it worked really well, and I cannot wait to see a White Star in flight. So, that finished up the Minbari, then we moved on to the Narn. Naturally, with the Narn, we started off with their Interceptor, the Frozzy class. It's a heavy interceptor, so we had to make sure that it was heavy. However, it's not necessarily better. It's not really necessarily better. And JP says bending versus breaking. Yeah, I mean, there is a difference there, kinda. Technically speaking, a large ship is not allowed to mount capital weapons. That's breaking. But since I paid for it with all the rest of the rule, or with all the rest of the weapon mounts, I feel like it's kinda okay. It should be okay. It should work really well. Anyway, the Interceptor. What I did here is I kind of split the difference. We did the Star Fury, and the Star Fury is like the absolute base model. It has short weapons, it doesn't have any armor, it doesn't have any countermeasures, it's meant to be used in numbers and to take down whatever's in front of it. And it does that exceedingly well, especially when flown in numbers. However, the Frozzy class is literally called a heavy fighter. But the Narn technology is not that much more advanced than human technology. Which means that if it's a heavy fighter, they probably just slapped some armor plating on it and called it a day. Which is what I've done here. This ship mirrors the Star Fury in almost every way, except that I gave it some armor. So that makes it a little bit harder to hurt. If this thing was actually going up against an actual Star Fury, I would say that it edges out a win, but probably not by that much, especially once you get a decent pilot in there. As far as weapons go, though, the Star Fury had pulse cannons, and it had a grappler, because sometimes you just need to reach out and touch somebody. The Frozzy class does not deal with that. It's got pulse cannons, just like the Star Fury. It's also got missiles. They're not exactly phenomenal missiles, but they are missiles. And the rest of it is exactly what you would expect to see. So, that takes care of the little interceptor, and it's what you would expect. There's only so much that I can do within the rules. So that let us move to the Thenor class, which we turn into a destroyer as well. We actually sat down before we touched them and went through how big is each ship going to be. Because the Bintak is their biggest vessel, and that looked like a carrier, so that meant that, we just moved one size down. The Jaquan was a cruiser, and that left the Thenor and the Thaloth as destroyers. So we built the Thenor, and it looks really good. It is a large destroyer. It has decent speed. It's got armor. The power core, nothing special. It's got medium-range plasma cannons. Fine. It's got missile launchers. Also fine. It's got some light pulse cannons. Not point defense, okay? These are not point defense. They are just short-range cannons. This thing really wants to kind of get in close and brawl. And it's got a hangar. Just one. Just one hangar. It's got a few fighters, and that's kind of, you know, where we see the difference in doctrine between the humans and the Narn. The Narn, when it comes to doctrine, come a little bit closer to the Minbari. Quality over quantity. The only problem is that their quality isn't really all that great. And so they're kind of split in the difference. So, we did that, and then we went to do the Tabletop cruiser, or destroyer rather. And looking at it, it looks exactly the same, with just a little bit more to it. A few more. It's got a few more guns on it, it's got a couple more fighters on it, but otherwise it is the exact same thing. Numerically speaking, it is the exact same thing. And so, when I came down here, the only real difference is the Narn class has 6 Frozzy Interceptors, the Tabletop has 8. And that's it. That's the only difference. So we managed to knock out 2 ships at once there, which brings us to what we're doing today. Today we're going to do the Jiquan class cruiser, which is kind of the mainstay of their fleet. They're very proud of it. And the Bintak, which I don't actually ever remember seeing in the series, but we've got stats for it, so we're going to build one. Alright, now, we already know that the Jiquan class cruiser is going to be a huge cruiser. We got that. And so, why don't we go ahead and see what we've got on it. And then we'll get started building. So, let me go ahead and bring in the browser. It's still got that big gap. And it always seems to keep getting worse. Can I fix it? There we go, we'll try that. That made the gap go away. Okay, Jiquan Heavy Class Cruiser. There we go. Now, like I said, this is kind of the mainstay of their fleet. Whenever you see a Narn Heavy Cruiser, this is the one you usually see. And for good reason. It's a very pretty ship. I mean, for a Narn ship. I'm not their biggest fan, but it's a very pretty ship. Okay, it says the Jiquan class heavy cruiser is the backbone of the Narn regime's naval forces up until their defeat by the Centauri Republic in 2259. The McCann Industries located at the Wings of Jalon facility. Yes. History, we're not going to go into the history because I don't really care that much. Notable vessels, the Jatok, unnamed vessels, etc., etc. Doesn't really say a whole lot about it. However, it does tell us that, according to this, 2 heavy X-ray laser cannons. Now, Starfinder does actually have X-ray lasers. We'll have to look into that. 2 twin particle cannons and 2 energy mine launchers. Starfinder also has mines. So we'll look into that too. But let's also check the datasheet. So, Jiquan Heavy Cruiser. So this says that it's 1,400 meters long, 18.6 million metric tons, has a crew of 250 and 800 troops. Okay, let's go ahead and add that right now. So, crew of 250 and 800 troops. It has 12 Frozzy fighter craft, so we either have to go with the We either have to go with the modular hangars that I did for the Olympus, or we're just going to give it 2 hangars. I might just give it 2 hangars, actually. We'll have to wait and see. 3 fusion reactors that go for 9 months. It has 2 particle lasers, so that matches. This says it has 6 pulse cannons. This only says it has 2 twin particle cannons. And 2 energy mine launchers. Okay, so it's basically the same. This just says it has 2 heavy X-ray lasers, unless it just has cannons here as a separate entry. And it just has, you know, cannons, unspecified. Then 2 particle cannons and the energy mines. We'll go with this one. We usually do, and this is going to fit. That'll tells us pretty much everything we need to know. And, you know, 6 to 8 meter armored hull. I don't remember if cruisers get a damage reduction. I think they might. But let's go ahead and take care of that then. Scrolling up. Base frames. Let's go ahead and build ourselves a cruiser. So, tankers, heavy haulers, cruisers. Here we go. So, maneuverability, it's average. That is no bonus, and it turns on 2. Not 250, then it would never turn. Okay, armor, we'll get to that later. Armor class is currently 10 and 10. Does it have a damage threshold? Yes, it does. It has a damage threshold of 5. Which means that it's actually a little bit light on the plating. But it'll be okay. It'll be okay. Critical threshold of 36. Hull points are 180. Although it will get more by the time we're done. The shield and ablative armor can go there. Jump engine. It do have them. It do have them. Now, as far as the weapon slots go, forward. It has 1 capital. Port and starboard, it has light weapons. And let's see, it has nothing aft, but it does have 1 heavy turret. So, we'll have to make that work. It has a grand total of 4 weapons. I think we'll do fine with that. I think we will. Expansion space. It has 6 expansion bays. Which is technically not enough for 2 hangars. Although, I can always add more. Adding more expansion bays does take away from your AC and your target lock, I think. Let me double check this. Let's see. You can transport. No. Following options for most of these. Build requirements, etc. Found on page 300. Where is the rules, though, for additional expansion bays? Because you can literally just bolt them onto the outside. And that's how you get more expansion bays on a smaller ship. But now I don't know where it is. It'll be fine. Refitting and upgrading? Upgrading systems, refitting systems, upgrading starships. This is where we got the stuff for the weapon mounts. Where about the, let's see. This does not show me anything about the expansion bays. Okay. Well, I'll have to look it up later. It means that my the ship will probably be a little bit on the large or the higher level size when we build it, but I think it'll be okay. Besides, it's a cruiser. It's not really meant to be super it's not really meant to be super agile anyway. That's why it's going to have a heavy turret. Okay, so I'm just going to say hangar times 2, which means it's going to be 30 and 10. No, 60 and 20. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and copy this over as well, because these aren't going to change. So that takes care of our computers, our countermeasures, and our sensors. So there's nothing really left to do then for this cruiser is we need to give it some thrusters. We'll probably look at some armor. See how much we can afford. And then we'll work on the weapons. So as far as thrusters go, again, they're probably going to be... Cruiser is huge. They're probably going to be H8 thrusters. So we've used previously on all of these. I could go H10s. I don't see a need to, though. We'll go with H8s just to keep our points down a little bit. And there is no bonus on those. And keep in mind that these are all going to be just the basic models. This is done so that we can take one of these ships and drop it in. However, if my players ended up in command of one of these vessels, keep in mind that all of this can be upgraded. And so, very, very easily, my players pull into a space dock somewhere and say, look, we're getting an upgrade on the thrusters. We're going to be upgrading them to an H10 or an H12. And now suddenly, you're flying a Jaquan cruiser that goes really fast. Not to mention that I think that I'm going to be using the thrusters for our hyperspace mechanics. We just haven't gotten to that yet. So, it's going to be a wait and see kind of thing. Now, the H8 thrusters, that is 140 and 8. Oh, and how much does a cruiser cost? I didn't look. I always forget to do that. Oh, my tanker. No, I passed it. Cruiser, right there. It costs 60. And JP says, upgrades are great, but they do take time. 7 to 20-ish days. Actually, it's not necessarily 7 to 20-ish days, although that is kind of what the, it's kind of what the Starfinder rules say. If we go back to the Starfinder rules, refitting and upgrading systems. It says here, PCs with build points can replace systems or weapons with one that costs more build points by paying the difference in cost between the two systems. If the cost is the same, the system can be upgraded for free, but the crew should keep the amount of PCU the Starship's power core in mind. When upgrading the weapon, remember the Starship's frames starts with a certain number of build points and weapon mounts. Installing a single upgrade usually takes 1D for days. So that's the rules in Starfinder. I have abstracted that a little bit and kind of added to it. So my rules as I play them is I give it 1 day of work per build point being added. And so, for example, the last time my players in the B team upgraded their ships, they went, whole hog. They had 20 build points to play with, and they filled all of them. So, I figured that it takes about the same amount of time to uninstall something as it does to install it, and I just said, you know what? We're charging per the build point. 20 build points, 20 days of work. Now, I could probably invent some kind of system where I roll a d20, and on a 20, they get it done faster, and on a 1, it takes longer. But that's, neither here nor there. It's something that I could do, not something that we need to do. One day per build point seems fair. It does mean that the more expensive the part is, the longer it takes. Whereas this, it's all completely random. And while random is good, sometimes alleviating the randomness is also good. There's a time and a place. Alright, so we got the cruiser set. And Blizzard says, yes, plan ahead indeed. Oh, you have no idea, you sweet summer children. And Tux is here. Hello. Tux says, hello, random question, is Mugenics on your playlist? And if not, what do I have to do to gift it to you to put it on there? Mugenics is on the list. The problem is that I need to find time. I currently have a full schedule during the week. I do one series a day. I was doing 2 with the Humble Spotlight, but I've kind of gotten away from that just because it was more work than I could handle. Mugenics is on the list. I'm just waiting for an open slot. So Mondays is RimWorld, and Mondays has been RimWorld forever. However, RimWorld is not exactly one of my my most popular series, so there is a chance that Mondays might rotate into something else. Tuesdays right now is Baldur's Gate, specifically Baldur's Gate 3. And as I have been informed, do not expect Tuesday to change anytime soon. I have been reliably informed that Baldur's Gate 3 could take me for like the next 3 years to complete if I do it weekly, like an hour at a time. Because Baldur's Gate 3 could take hundreds of hours. Especially with my dumbass trying to do it, because I miss things that are right there in the open. Like the last episode, I had to go find a person. Turns out this person's been standing in the main walkway the entire time. Wednesdays is Guild Wars. Guild Wars 2. Now, Guild Wars 2 is actually going to be coming up on a break here soon. However, once Guild Wars 2 goes on break, I may be going back to Guild Wars 1. Especially since they just released the remastered version. So that's good. Thursday is Pal World. Pal World is also going to be reaching the end here pretty soon, I think. I mean, it's still got a couple of months left in it at least, but Pal World is going to be reaching that. I don't know what's coming after that. And then Friday is Phoenix Point, and Phoenix Point is going to be coming to an end sooner or later because it's on a timer. So, it's looking like Mugenics is definitely on the list. It's probably going to go into either a Monday or a Friday slot. But that's the best that I can promise. It'll go Monday if nobody really wants any more RimWorld right now and they want to see something different. Otherwise, it'll go Friday as soon as Phoenix Point ends. Although Friday, I really wanted for other series that I hadn't finished yet. I mean, finally finishing Fridays. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. Monday might be the more realistic one. It's on the list, though. Don't get me wrong. It is on the list. Many people have already recommended Mugenics to me, and I saw a little bit of the gameplay. It looks good. Okay. What else we got going on? JP says, Tux! Yes, we're glad to have Tux back. PC Unicorn is in the chat. Hello, PC. PC says, wibbly wobbly, timey, wimey. It's more like a rug. Alright. And Tux says, like the stream chat. Yes, I like the stream chat too. Okay? I got good people here. I got good people. Alright, getting back to our Jaquan cruiser. So we've got the thrusters in there. We've got that done. Next, we need to look at the weapons on it. This is where we're going to spend more time. However, we already established that the 4 weapons are supposedly X-ray lasers. So let's take a look, because I believe I have those under capital weapons. So these are heavy, and these are capital. So let's look. Capital Song Cannon, Extreme Force Ramming Prow, Galactic Choir Array, Gatling Cannon Array, Grapple Hauser, Gravity Cannon, Mass Driver, Massive Ramming Prow. JP says, we are great people. Thank you very much. You are great people. Mega Teleportation Beam, Arcane Rail, Particle Beam Cannon, Persistent Particle Beam Cannon, Super Buster Vannon. That's not right. Super Orbital Death Knell, Super Radiant Cannon, Super X Laser Cannon. There we go. I'm going to assume that the X stands for X-ray. Because I thought I had one, and I think that's it. There's an Ultra X Laser Cannon down here. I think that's the ticket. So Super X Laser Cannon is going to be it. It is a direct fire weapon. It is long, 3d10 or 3d4 times 10 damage, and it's even a line. And PC says, does that make me Tony the Tiger? Well, are you selling cereal? Because I am hungry. Okay, I just woke up. Haven't had anything to eat yet. I could go for some Frosted Flakes. Alright, we're going to go with the X particle thing. We just got to go ahead and name everything appropriately. So we'll come down here to notes. And I'm going to format paint this just so that I have my individual blocks. We'll go to the data sheet. It has... This one says particles and lasers. This says an X or heavy X-ray laser. I'm going to go ahead and call it a heavy X-ray laser. Heavy X-ray laser equals... And now we'll go back to the Starship weapons. Super X Laser Cannon. So let's go ahead and put that in. So heavy X-ray laser. It's going to be long. If I can type. (3d4) times 10. And it's a line weapon. Now, that's actually kind of weird because that would imply that this thing has, like, penetrating power. It punches through things. Which I don't know if we ever really saw from a Narn cruiser. At the same time, though, I'm willing to let him have it. I'm willing to let him have it. Now, as far as the light weapons go, we know that we still need to have these pulse cannons, and we still need to have the energy mines. Now, the pulse cannons, I think, are going to end up being our heavy weapons, and the energy mines can be our light weapons. So the light weapons here... Well, no, we'll go with the pulse cannons. Now, as we discussed last time, pulse is going to be plasma. We went through a whole thing, and we established that pulse is plasma. Period. So, pulse cannon equals plasma cannon. I'm just going to copy it directly from here. So, plasma cannon. Oh, and one thing that I forgot with the heavy X-ray laser, how much is that going to cost us? Super X laser cannon is 50 power, 45 build points. There we go. The heavy plasma cannons, though, they're medium 5d12. So, pulse cannon. Medium 5d12. And there's nothing special about them. And they're going to cost us 30 and 20. Perfect. That takes care of that. Now we're just going to get our mines. And these are going to be light. So, do just a quick search for mine. And JP says Super X laser. That's Cyclops. Well, close. It's a Super X-Man laser. And technically, let's remember, Cyclops doesn't shoot lasers. Okay? He doesn't. It's a blast of force. Lasers would light things on fire. That being said, they made it a beam, they made it red, everyone assumes that it's a laser. You're not going to convince the masses that it's not a laser. He's got laser eyes. Okay, light frag mines, light plasma mines, and mini nuke mines. Now, it says energy mines. Energy mines, to me, means that the fragmentation mines are not really going to be a thing. So, it's going to limit us to either the plasma mines or it's going to limit us to the nuclear mines. And Blizzard says he doesn't shoot laser. No, he does not. It is part of the canon that both he and his brother Havoc, do not shoot lasers. They are able to manipulate kinetic energy into beams of force. Cyclops does it through his eyes, and Havoc does it through his chest. However, both of them are actually much more related to Gambit than they are to... I don't actually know anybody who shoots lasers. I really don't. I guess Storm is the closest one since she can call down lightning? But no, they're not lasers. Which is, like I said, it's a bit weird because if you watch the movie X-Men First Class, which was really, really good, when Havoc was training and they were practicing how to use his energy manipulation, he actually did light fires. Which, now, it just reinforces the idea that it is lasers, even though canonically it's not. So they even contradict themselves sometimes. What can you do? Okay, getting back to this. Plasma mines or mini nuke mines. It just says energy mines. I'm leaning towards plasma mines because of that. I think plasma mines make more sense. Although nuclear mines would be a lot more fun. I'm going to go with the light plasmas. Just for the energy part of it. So I'm going to say energy mines. Let's see. JP says, if I can get back to the chat. JP says EMP mines? I don't remember if I saw EMP mines. And then he gets really excited over the idea of nukes because, let's face it, the B team wants to nuke everything. There is one solution to everything, and that solution is nuclear fire. At the very least, they're consistent. PC says a strong enough impact can cause ignition just from force converting it to heat. That is true. But that's not what they were doing in X-Men First Class. And yes, I know that enough force can do that. There is a video somewhere on YouTube. I don't know who did it, but it was really, really popular when it came out, and it said, "Can you cook a chicken by slapping it?" As it turns out, spoiler alert, the answer is yes. Yes, you can. There won't be much left of it, but you can. And Tuck says, we should really find a counter to nuclear fire, like nuclear firemen or something. I'm pretty sure the counter to nuclear fire is nuclear deterrence. Just don't set things on fire. Alright, so, getting back to this, energy mine. Energy mine equals light plasma mine. And let's get this filled out. So they are tracking, but they don't move. And they do 2d12 damage. And they're limited to 5. And mine 4. Now, if I understand correctly, when it says mine 4, that is the operational range. So, weapon properties. Went to the wrong place. There we go. Let's see. JP says, nuclear firemen, you need a Khaleesi. I feel like this is a reference I didn't get. Okay, anyway, mine. A weapon with the special property, referred to as the launcher, can be mounted only in a starship's aft quadrant and can only be activated by using the lay mines gunner crew action during the helm phase. Well, I've already violated that because I put him on the port and starboard. I'm not changing it. It kind of makes sense. The deployed mine has an AC and TL equal to 12 plus the launching starship's tier. Each mine has 1 hull point. A mine's effective speed is 4 when targeted by point weapons. Anytime a starship exits a hex adjacent to a mine, the gunner who placed the mine can attempt an immediate gunnery check against the triggered starship's TL. If they succeed, the mine deals the listed damage, after which the mine is destroyed. If a starship would enter a hex containing a mine, the gunner who placed it there attempts an immediate gunnery check as above with a +2 circumstance bonus against the triggered starship's target lock, and any damage dealt to the any damage is dealt to the starship's forward quadrant. If the mine's gunnery check fails, the mine remains in that hex, and the triggering starship can complete its movement without further risk from that mine during this phase. Mines don't activate until a few moments after being dispersed so as not to damage the launching starship. However, I don't remember seeing what the Mine 4 was for. And JP says, sorry, that was the Mother of Dragons reference for the firemen. Oh, is it a Game of Thrones thing? I never saw Game of Thrones. Mostly just because I never had the channels with which to watch it. I mean, I don't have cable. Or whatever I was supposed to have to watch that one. The most I ever had was Netflix. And it wasn't on there. I don't even have Netflix anymore. Now I have the internet. That's all I've got. Like, I have a TV. My TV's literally collecting dust. I haven't turned it on in, like, 2 months, I think. I mean, I have one. It's there. I just don't use it. Let's see. Where again was this? Be activated only using this. Mine's effective speed is 4 when targeted by weapons. Doesn't actually tell me what the Mine 4 was for. Because this says that when you enter into the hex containing a mine. Or anytime the starship exits a hex adjacent to a mine? So maybe that's where the 4 comes in? I don't know. They didn't word this very well. I think that's the range of the mine. How much area that it threatens. That's what I'm going to assume. That's why you're going to get better mines later on, because like the light frag mines, they only have a mine 3. The plasmas have a mine 4. Let's see. The mini nuke mines, they have a mine 1. They hit harder, so they're more restricted. But if we go all the way down to the capital weapons, Vortex Maw mines, they have a mine range of 3. Quantum mines have a range of 5. Nuclear mega mines have a range of 1. It makes sense. So that's just going to be their threatened area. Alright, and how much is that going to cost us? Light plasma mines are going to be 5 PCU and 12 build points. Not 50, just 5. And we will copy that down here. Again, bending the rules, it says that you're not allowed to install them in anywhere but the aft arc, but I've seen how ships work. They can dump torpedoes off the deck on the sides. I think this will be okay. Alright, so I think that does everything for the Jiquan cruiser. I think we're ready to start doing totals. And then we'll see how much armor we can put in this thing. So, get my calculator out. 60 for the frame. 8 for the thrusters. Nothing else down here yet. 45 for the X-ray laser. 24 for the mines. Another 20 for the cannons. 6 for the sensors. And 20 for the hangars. That's going to come out to 183 build points. For now. And that was the wrong order. I needed to do power first, but it's okay. Power first is it's fine. We'll make it work. 140 for the thrusters, 50 for the laser, 10 for the mines, another 30 for the pulse cannons, and 60 for the hangars. That is 290. So we need to get ourselves a power core. So 290, we're looking for a power core that'll give us about 300. Or 3 power cores that do 100. But yeah, we're already pushing the expansion base as it is. Let's see. The Pulse Prismatic fits on a large. That's not an option for us. The Nova Ultra gives us 300, and that fits on a huge. So that's going to be our ticket. So a Nova Ultra. And it's probably going to be 30. Is it 30? Looking Nova Ultra. Yeah, it's 30. Perfect. So we'll just come back up here to the build points and say this is going to be a plus 30. So that'll be 203 is 20, so 213. Perfect. Now, at 213, what tier does that put us in? At 213, we are above an 8, which means it's going to be a tier 9. Now, how much armor can we give this thing at a tier 9? So, if 9 caps out at 230, we've got 17 points to play with. How much armor can we get for 17 points? Not on this tab. This one. So, since this goes by size category, let's see. Tiny, small, medium, large, huge is 5. 17 minus, or divided by 5 is going to come out to roughly 3. So we could get us some Mark III armor. Which is fine. I think we'll do that. It's not as heavy plating as some of the other ones. And this is going to cost us 15. So coming up here, 15 plus 5 is going to be 18. It's going to be 228. And looks like Blizzard is out of here. It says, all right, gotta go. Gotta have a great day. Enjoy your Sunday. Gotta split. Well, Blizzard, it was good having you here. Glad to see you. Hopefully we'll see you back here next time. And until then, take care. All right. So, getting back to the cruiser here. We threw some armor on it. That ups its armor class. It actually has a lower armor class than the destroyers, but that's okay. It is a bigger ship. And it has the damage threshold on it, which the destroyer doesn't have. So, not only is it still a little bit harder to hit, but it's going to shrug off some damage incoming anyway. And I think that's going to work. I think that's pretty much perfect. It's going to be a very interesting ship. It's going to want to joust, just to bring those forward X-ray lasers to bear. However, having a heavy turret does mean that it can work in a fight in just about any situation. And the energy mines are going to make it so that the actual battlefield around it is dangerous. And that's going to be the real key to its victory. It's not necessarily going to outfight any other ship. However, as long as it can outmaneuver them and drop enough mines, if they can funnel it into its firing arcs, they can take care of it. If the other ship plows into the mines, they can take care of it. And so I think that's going to work out well. I think that works. All right, I'm going to leave the Jaquan class as it is then. I think it's going to be fun. So we'll go ahead and delete these columns here. We'll file the Jiquan, and we'll get to work on the Bintak, which is a carrier, and that's my wheelhouse. I do love carriers. So, I'll go to base frames here, and we will go back to look at the Bintak. The thing is, though, we don't really have the Bintak here, I don't think. Because that's not it. And the old cruiser, that's not it either. So there's nothing on the wiki about the Bintak. Which means that we have only the datasheet to work from. Which is fine, because the datasheet is usually pretty good. Unless it's the White Star, in which case, I have no idea why the White Star was blank. It doesn't make any sense. Now, they call it a dreadnought, but we compared it to like our actual dreadnought, the Warlock, and it's not a dreadnought. This one is just a carrier. Although when I say just a carrier, it's still pretty nasty. Okay, let's go ahead and start by filling in everything we're going to need for the actual carrier frame, and then we'll go ahead and read that. So, destroyer, heavy freighter, vermouth, bulk cruiser, carrier. Here we go, carrier. So first off, it costs 120. Let's fill that in right away before I forget it again. Maneuverability is poor, which is to be expected with a carrier. Takes 3 turns or 3 hexes to turn once. However, 9 and 9. Damage threshold is better at 10. The critical threshold is better at 48. Max hull points. Oh, I didn't fix the hull points on the Jiquan. We'll have to do that real quick. Max hull points is going to be 240. That will go up. Speaking of, the Jiquan, bring this back up where you can actually see what we're doing here, has 180. Cruiser, though, their HP increment is 25. At tier 9, they get 2 of those. That's a plus 50. 80 plus 50 is going to be 230. Not 23. There we go. Which actually brings it almost all the way up to a baseline carrier. Almost. And as far as the armaments go, it has 1 forward... No. Look at the wrong thing here. 1 forward capital. Port. It has 3 heavies and starboard. So heavy. 3 port. 3 starboard. And it has 2 light turrets. There we go. We'll fill these in green, just to mark that they are active. All right, so we'll get to those later on. As far as the sensors and everything goes, those are still the same. Carrier has 10 expansion slots. However, how many hangars are we going to need? If we check on the datasheet again, it says that it carries a complement of 48 fighters. Well, if every hangar holds 8, that means that this thing needs to have 6 hangars on it. That's a lot of hangars. So, if each hangar is 30 PCU, that's going to be 180 power and 60 build points, just for the hangars alone. But you know what? As a carrier captain, worth it. It's more expensive than some ships. I mean, when you go back and you look at the actual tiers of ships, a tier 1 ship caps out at 55. So it has more build points put into its hangars than some entire ships, which I think is just hilarious. Crew. We're going to take the crew numbers from the datasheet, though. Crew of 900. And passengers of 30,000. That's a lot of people. Alright, I think we've got everything filled in from this, and now we can start working on the actual ship systems. So, for starters, thrusters. It's our gargantuan ship, so we're looking at the Gs, and the G8 is the way to go. It's the fastest one, it doesn't have a bonus, it's going to work out well for us. So, G8, there is no bonus to it. However, it's going to require a lot of power. 240 and 16. Like I said, it's going to require a lot of power. I can copy this over, because again, no shields, no blade of armor. Those are aftermarket parts. And JP says, just as long as they're not wire hangers. They have wires in them. That's why they need so much power. Alright, so, jump engine, that's a yes. They have jump engines. And I think we can get into the actual armaments now. Alright, so let's take a look at the actual armaments and see what we got to do. Because we have capital weapons, we have heavy weapons, we have light weapons. We have fixed weapons, forward, port, and starboard, and we have light turrets. We have options. Okay, is what I'm saying. We have some options. JP says, that was a Mommy Dearest reference. I'm not familiar with Mommy Dearest. Must have been something else on TV I missed. I'm so sheltered sometimes. Okay. So the Bintak class Dreadnought, what does it have? It says it has 2 ultra-heavy particle lasers. I'm guessing those are going to be my forward fixed lasers. It has 12 heavy particle lasers, 2 energy mine launchers, and 60 pulse cannons. Alright, let's break this down then. So it has 2 ultra heavy particle lasers. Those are going to be our capital weapons. Alright, those are spoken for. 12 heavy particle lasers and 2 energy mine launchers. Well, if they're heavy particle lasers, that means I can't really put them on the turret because the turrets are going to be light. And if we're going to stick with the wording as close as we can, they got to go port and starboard. But we also have 2 energy mine launchers. Those are also going to go port and starboard. Again, bending the rules on this one, but I think it works well. So what we're probably going to have to do is we're probably going to have to make the energy mine launchers heavy, and those will take up 1 slot on either side, which means that the other 2 slots on either side can be heavy particle lasers, and we can do that. So let's start building. Okay, let's start building. The real question is going to be, are they going to be particle beams or are they going to be lasers? And I believe that we're going to build all of our Narn ships with lasers specifically. The heavy X-ray laser is a laser. That was the first one that actually had a laser, so yeah, we're sticking with lasers. And lasers are like the budget option when it comes to weapons. They are less powerful than particle beams, but they're cheaper to operate, which also kind of fits the Narn. Alright, so 2 ultra-heavy particle lasers. Ultra-heavy particle laser equals... This is where we're going to go back to weapons. And down to capitals. Now, for the Jaquan, we gave it the X-ray laser, which is right here, the Super X laser cannon. For the Bintok, I think we're just going to go with the Super laser, which is cheaper. However, it fits exactly what we're doing. They just said a super or an ultra heavy laser. That's what this is. So super laser it is. Super laser. And I guess I'll fill this in as we go. So ultra heavy particle laser. We'll start filling it in. Super laser is going to be long, 2d4 times 10. There is nothing special about a laser, though, except for the fact that it is cheap at only 20 PCU and 20 build points. Which, you know, I'm sure that my players are going like, that's cheap? When you're talking about a capital weapon, that's pretty cheap. Okay, next is going to be the heavy lasers. So we're going to scroll up, and this should be really easy too. Particle beams, masers, static projectors, heavy laser cannon. There we go. It's exactly what we needed. So we check back here on the data sheet. It just says 12 heavy particle lasers. So heavy particle laser, which again is kind of an oxymoron. And that's just going to be the heavy laser cannon. So heavy particle laser. And it's going to be medium at 4d8. Again, nothing special about a laser. It just does laser things. But again, they are cheap at 10 and 15. And so we'll copy this. And paste. And paste. There we go. We've got heavy lasers. which takes us now to the energy mines, which are also going to be heavy. So energy mine equals... Now, the previous energy mines were plasma mines. We're going to try and replicate that if we can. We've got plasma cannons, but we're looking for mines. I'm going to go down to the bottom and work my way up, because there's vortex mouth mines, torpedo launcher, plasma torpedo. Here we go, heavy plasma mines. Exactly what I wanted. So it's going to equal heavy plasma mine. And we will fill it in. So energy mine. That's going to be tracking none. And it's going to deal 4d12 damage. Literally double the damage to the previous one. Limited to 5, mine 4. And what's this going to cost us? 10 and 18. There we go. So now we got our energy mines. And already I like the way it's shaping up. It's very dangerous from the front with the heavy particle laser. However, it's not defenseless from the sides. This thing is going to create its own minefield, and it's even got some direct fire weapons that are going to work for us. This is going to work out really well, I think. However, still need these light weapons. So if we come back to the datasheet, it just says 60 plasma pulse cannons, which is great because we already knew that anything pulse is going to be plasma. So plasma pulse cannon equals, and we'll jump right up here to light weapons. It's going to be a light plasma cannon. So light plasma cannon, and we will fill that in. So plasma pulse cannon. That is going to be short at 2d12. With nothing special about it. It's going to cost us 10 power, 12 build points, not 120, just 12. And we're going to get 2 turrets with those. And again, it's not point defense, it's more like anti-fighter defense. Anything that gets within range gets a free shot with the plasma pulse cannons. Because they are on turrets, they face every direction. Anybody who gets within 5 hexes is getting shot. Even if you come in from the aft, which is the safest place, 5 hexes is the death zone. And so there we go. That takes care of the weapons, and it looks pretty good. So, let's go ahead and start calculating power so we can throw a power core on it. So, 240 alone for the thrusters. Keep in mind, the Jaquan uses 290 power total. They are some very powerful thrusters. Okay, 20 for the lasers. Port and starboard altogether is going to be 60. Another 20 for the turrets. And 180 for the hangars. That comes out to 520 PCU. Okay, PCU, 520. Which means I think we're going to have to go really, really big on the power core. Does this thing say what kind of power core it actually has? It says it has 4 fusion reactors. 52 divided by 4 is 13. Do we have power cores that are going to cost us 130? Or that'll supply us with 130? Let's take a look. We might go or be better off if we went with the smaller cores. Maybe, I'm not sure. We might not be able to fit them, honestly. Because as a gargantuan, like, the smallest I can put on there is the Gateway Ultras. Without just outright violating the rules. And looking at it, believe it or don't, the highest one that we can get is the Gateway Ultra at 500, and that's not gonna do it. So, we may have to bend the rules on this one. There is one that does give us the 130 that we need, and that's the Arcus Heavy. The Arcus Heavy is capped out at a medium, but we're going to have to break the rules on this one. So, I'm going to come down here and say power core housing times 3. We're going to need it. We'll come back to this in just a moment. What do I need to pay for that? Power core housing is 10 each. It's another 30 build points. We haven't calculated build points yet, so it's okay. Power core then. The Arcus Heavy is 130 and 13. So Arcus Heavy times 4. And this is like the most inefficient way to do it. You would not generally want to do it this way anyway, which I do think kind of works out in our favor. I mean, not everything is done as efficiently as possible. That's going to be 520 power, exactly what we need. 52 build points. That is going to get us everything we need. Alright, so let's figure out exactly what tier this thing is, because this is going to be a very high tier ship. Which is to be expected from a carrier, but still, it's going to be an exceptionally high tier ship even for a carrier. So 120 build points for the carrier frame itself, plus 16 for the thrusters. 52 for the power core. Well, power cores, plural. 20 for the laser. Let's see, 15 is 30, plus 18 is going to be 48 per side. And then 24 for the turrets. 6 for the sensors. 60 for the hangars. And 30 for the extra power core housings. It's going to come out to 424 build points. We haven't even given it any armor yet. Now, 424 build points is going to put us square into the tier 14 territory. However, that is also going to leave us 26 points with which to add armor. So let's see what we can do. Again, 26 divided by what? So, tiny, small, medium, large, huge, gargantuan is 6. 26 divided by 6 doesn't do nicely. 24 by 6 is going to be 4, though. Unfortunately, I don't think that's an option. If we look at armor, Mark 3 armor is 3 times size category. Mark 4 armor is 5 times size category. Well, since our size category is 6, we don't have enough points. For Mark 4 armor, we have to go with the Mark 3. And that's going to be another 18. So, that's going to be 424 plus 8 is going to be 434, plus 10 is 444. There we go. Still in the tier 14 area. We'll add this to our AC, which brings the AC up to 12. Our TL still stays at a 9. Again, it's a bigger target. It's easier to hit. However, at a tier 14, that is going to be 3 HP boosts. So how much HP are we getting? The carrier is going to get 30 each, so that's going to be an additional 90. 240 plus 90 is going to be 330. That's not bad. So it ends up it's going to be it's going to have 100 more hit points or hull points than the Jiquan, which makes sense. Bigger ship. Otherwise, though, it's looking good. It's looking very good. Oh, one other thing to add here, and I didn't add it to the Jiquan. 48 Frozzy interceptors. And I'll have to grab that for the Jiquan as well. And they don't count towards the build points. It's already included with the hangar. But it looks good. It looks very good. Recommended level of 14 to be on here. Doesn't mean that you can't serve on it if you're under 14, just means not recommended. Alright, we have enough time then that I think we can move on. I think we can move on to the Centauri. Yep, I think we can do it. Thankfully, I already had that set up. But I like it. I like the way this thing looks. I like the way it's going to operate. It's going to operate under the same battlefield control doctrine that the Jiquan did by dropping mines and funneling your enemies. And then, of course, it's just deadly if you get close to it. Attacking this thing is dangerous. It's got one long weapon to reach out and touch somebody, but otherwise, medium-range weapons on the sides, don't get close to it from the sides. Even short weapons on the aft. So let me just fill in one more thing, and then we will start on the Centauri. So the Jiquan class has 12 Frozzies. There we go, 12 Frozzy interceptors. So it's a huge jump, like literally 4 times the size between them. But okay, good to go. We'll go ahead and take a look at the Centauri now. I don't know that we're going to get much done. I might get the interceptor done, and that's probably going to be about it. I don't even necessarily know how many ships that they have to really work with. We're going to find out. So coming back to the wiki, I'll use this page. We'll go down to the fighter craft. The Centauri the Centauri Republic only has one Sentry class fighter, according to this. And for their capital ships, it says it has the Primus class battlecruiser, the Vorchan medium warship, and a Primus class liner. I don't necessarily know what that means. An unarmed variant of the Primus class battlecruiser is a luxury liner. Okay. So here's the interesting thing about Starfinder that this kind of actually leans into. See, when we look at the base frames in Starfinder, we can see that we have carriers and battleships and cruisers and destroyers and all these things. The thing is that all of these things really just kind of mean that the ship leans towards a certain role. Because if we look at something like a tanker, okay, here's a tanker. If we look at this thing, it doesn't really say much about it. But a tanker is a large vessel. It has clumsy maneuvering, 100 hit points, but it has one heavy forward mount and 2 light turrets. It is a tanker with guns. Just imagine that if you had like a tanker semi-truck, and you put a cannon on the front and a couple of machine gun nests on top. And PC says it means that it transforms into robot mode. Nope, that's a different thing. Okay, that's when we get into mechs, which are also super cool, but we're not doing that right now. Anyway, the tanker, it has weapons on it, and it means that it's kind of best suited for that, but it doesn't mean it's the only thing that's suited for. Like my personal Starfinder carrier, my personal Starfinder character flies a carrier. However, my personal Starfinder character is a freighter captain. The starship that my character has is a decommissioned carrier. It still has the hangar, with which my character, carries small ships for sale. However, almost every single other expansion bay has been turned into cargo holds for carrying up to 100 tons of cargo. There's a couple of other expansion slots that have been used for other things, but the point is that it is a carrier frame being used as a freighter. The frame of your ship does not determine what the ship must do, just what it's best suited for. And so, you're allowed to do whatever you want. So when we look at the Primus liner, it is the same concept as my own personal ship. It's a warship. However, take the guns off of it, take the barracks out of it, put some decent quarters in there, and you got yourself essentially the world's most expensive passenger liner. So there you go. Which means that the Centauri, according to the wiki, they only have 3 ships, 1 fighter and 2 capitals. Let's take a look at the data sheet. Maybe it has something different. The Centauri Republic. Let's look at the fighter craft. It has the Sentry class interceptor, just like the wiki, an atmospheric shuttle, a transport, and mines for some reason. So yeah, just the 1 interceptor. And capital ships. It has the Primus class battlecruiser, the Vorchan class attack cruiser, and a space station. Why a space station? I don't know. That's not a ship. So yeah, we're looking at only we're only looking at the 3 ships. So let's go ahead and knock out the interceptor, because I imagine it's going to be pretty quick. Now, it is worth noting that the Centauri are closer to the Minbari in technology level than they are the humans. Centauri technology is very, very good. And so we're going to go ahead and start here. We're going to say species is Centauri. The name is going to be the Sentry. The crew is going to be, I assume, 1. Yes, crew is 1 pilot. Which is about what I expected. The size is going to be tiny. It's an interceptor. And I could probably copy a lot of this. There we go. Copied. And how much does an interceptor set us back? It's not much. They're cheap. Interceptor is going to cost us 6. The thrusters, we'll get to the thrusters in a moment. The armor class is 12, target lock is 12, damage threshold doesn't exist, critical threshold is 6. Hull points is going to be 30. Let's scroll up. And jump engine, I don't actually know. However, actually I'm going to leave those green. No fill on those. Coming down here, the computer is going to be basic. Countermeasures probably aren't going to exist, but we'll have to look into exactly what they do. And sensors are going to be budget. Or no, basic short. That's going to be no bonus at all. And expansion space, it doesn't have any expansions. As far as I know, we're going to look into this. We're going to look into it. So, what does the wiki have to say about this fighter? The Sentry-class medium fighter is a fast but lightly armed aerospace fighter deployed by the Centauri military. House Tavari Armaments, located at the Heveria orbital shipyards on Telonius 7, is responsible for manufacturing this class of vessel. So this says that it is just a medium fighter, 1 crew, no jump engine. We needed that. So jump capable. No. We assumed as much, but now it's confirmed. This says the weapons are a twin particle array, which is fine. We can make use of that. And power is a versatile fusion reactor. Possessing great maneuverability and acceleration, or greater maneuverability and acceleration than the comparable craft such as the Earth Force Starfury, Centauri pilots have been known to perform drastic and stressful maneuvers that will cause them to pass out, passing control over to the autopilot to complete the maneuver and bring the fighter around to a superior tactical position. And that is literally just a tidbit that was mentioned in the show once and never actually seen. It's just that while they were briefing the Starfury pilots in the event of a Centauri attack, they mentioned that we're going to keep drilling these maneuvers because the Centauri are willing to do these things that actually put their performance above our own. And I mean, real fighter pilots do that too. I mean, every fighter pilot trains in high G maneuvers just in case they need to be able to do them. History, I don't really care about the history that much. Additional characteristics, though. It says the fighter was specifically designed for speed, maneuverability, and easy mass production and meant to complement the large, slower Primus battlecruisers. Unlike most other fighters, the Sentry was not expected to engage in deep space combat independently. Instead, Sentry squadrons were used to defend the Primus formations against flank and rear attacks. In that case, what we're looking at here is actually something a little bit interesting. Most fighters are used to extend the reach of their carrier vessel. In this case, they're saying that the fighters would be used as a screen. This tells us something about the Primus, even though we're not even there yet. The Primus, when they say a battle cruiser, they literally mean a battle cruiser. Carrier vessels operate as a C&C. Okay? They are the place for all of your aircraft to operate from, and they focus almost exclusively on that. Most aircraft carriers do not carry any really offensive weapon. They'll carry things like the Sea Whiz, they'll carry some rockets, they'll carry some things that could potentially be turned onto other ships. I mean, I can't imagine that a Sea Whiz carries very high caliber shells, probably 50 cals, I'm not sure. If it is 50 caliber rounds, if you actually were able to turn that on an approaching ship, it's going to ruin someone's day. It may not be meant for direct combat, but never assume that it can't be used for direct combat. The Primus, however, appears to completely buck that trend. It says that the fighter's speed and maneuverability allowed the Centauri pilots to maneuver in and around the Primus formations, quickly moving to answer flanking threats with some support from Primus's side-firing guns. Combining the Sentry's fast interception speed with the Primus' heavy firepower, making Centauri formations very difficult for opposing forces to ambush. They have also proven adept at supporting the Vorchen-class medium warships, although the Vorchens themselves don't feature fighter support facilities. Interesting. That may be the first capital ship we've seen without a hangar. We'll have to wait until we see it. Limiting the effective range of such formations to within a few jumps of base or mothership. Capable of both atmospheric and non-atmospheric flight, is one of the largest and most powerful fighters in either environment. The relatively light armaments can work to its disadvantage when faced with other superior numbers. Okay. So, that was a lot of really good lore. We can use that. If we look back at the data sheet, one microfusion reactor, one pilot, it has two 34mm ion particle guns, so we're going to give it particle beams, and 4 fusion missiles optional. It's getting nukes. It is going to be a fighter with nukes. I know that I just made somebody in the chat happy. It also says it has some armor, 2 grappling claws, and 2 cutting lasers. I don't have room. I don't have room for it on there. The grappling claws would technically have to be a weapon, just like we have in the Star Fury, but it's getting nukes, so there's not room. Alright, let's start building it. And see, right there, I told you, right there, JP is like, nukes! I knew I was going to make somebody happy. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and block this out. And I am just going to go ahead and copy that over because it's going to be the same case for all of them. And PC says, launch the Duke. As in like Marmaduke? I suppose it'll do emotional damage. Okay, we already know this thing... Everything is taken care of except for the weapons, so let's just go ahead and knock out the weapons then. So base frames, we know how this works. We're going to go to weapons. Now, this thing uses particle weapons, particle cannon specifically. Usually they're shown firing like pulses, but I'm going to go with just the light particle cannon here. We can flavor it, say, to look like whatever we want. I usually see particles as beams. Either way. Light particle cannon, though, is going to be the way to go. So let's go ahead and put our notes in. Ion particle gun. So come down here. Ion particle gun equals light particle cannon. Let's see. PC says because of Duke Nukem. Okay, fair enough. And JP just says the Dukes of Hazzard. Well, nukes do tend to be hazardous. Alright, so ion particle gun. We're going to be using the... Wait, am I still live? I think I am. Says that I am. YouTube Studio just kind of blanked out. However, it looks like everything is still working. YouTube Studio is worthless. YouTube Studio is worthless. It is so bad. Oh, there it goes. Now it caught up. I have no idea what happened there, but I'm looking at like a black screen on the YouTube Studio, and it's like, are you still live? You say you're live. OBS says you're live. I can't with this sometimes. Why can't we have better tools? Anyway. Getting back to this. Light particle cannon. It's going to be medium range. So again, like I said, the Centauri are closer to the Minbari in technology than they are the humans in the Narn. And we're seeing that build out in the ships. Both the humans and the Narn are using plasma weapons. The Centauri and the Minbari are both using particle weapons. That means that the humans and the Narn are restricted to short range. The Centauri and the Minbari are both engaging at medium range. So the light particle cannon is going to do 3d6. And there's nothing special about it. But it does cost 10 and 10. And then, of course, scrolling almost all the way down to the bottom, they get a nuke. The first ones to use nukes, I think, since the humans. So according to this, it says fusion missiles. These are going to equal the tactical nuclear missile. All right, let's add it. So, fusion missile. That's going to be tracking 10. And 5d8. It also gets irradiate, low. And it's limited to 5. And that's going to cost us 10 and 18. Expensive. However, when you need to introduce somebody to the sun, nothing else will do. Okay, basic short sensors. Does that cost us anything? If it does, it's not going to be much. Basic short range, yeah, it's going to cost us 3. It's not much. Okay then, how much are the thrusters going to cost us? They're T10s. It's going to be 30 and 5. And there's really nothing else for us to do here. So, let's go ahead and just start filling this stuff in, because I don't believe they get any armor. I'm not going to give them any armor. The entire thing about the Sentry-class fighters is that they rely primarily on their maneuverability to keep them alive. They also operate inside of the field of fire of their capital ship, their mothership. And so they don't necessarily need the extra armor because they already have the extra cover. It is a completely different doctrine than what we have seen with every other race so far. Alright, so let's do the math. And then we'll do meth. No, we won't. Don't do drugs. So, 30 for the engines, 20 for the weapons, and that's it. That's literally it. That's all we've got. So, 50. 50 PCU. And literally nothing else. Which means that the smallest power core we have is going to suit us, the Micron Light. So Micron Light, it gives us 50 power. It costs 5 build points. Quick and easy. Let's see what that does for our build points. Because again, as an interceptor, it's probably going to be tier 1. Let's just make sure. So 11 for the top, 5 more for that, and then 28 for the weapons, and then 3 for the sensors, right? Yep, 3 for the sensors. Which means that it's a whole 47 build points. Very easily a tier 1 fighter. In fact, it might even be a little smaller. Nope. Tier 1. And that does it. I mean, that's a fighter right there. I like it, though. I really do. It's different. It's unique. So, it's a cross between the Star Fury and the Neo class. It doesn't have the same army as the Minbari fighter, but it does have the same reach. And so it does become kind of a game of, you know, rock, paper, scissors. Can you get in there? Can you get the shots on? If you can touch this thing, you can beat it. If you can't, if it outranges you, maybe you lose. And it does mean that, like, I can sit here and think about it, and I can simulate it in my head, and I cannot reliably tell you that one of these fighters is going to be better than the other. And then, of course, if you were to add in the differences in doctrines, does the Nile class outclass this interceptor head to head? Yeah, probably, given the differences in armor. But this ship isn't going to go out and chase one. it's going to operate within the fields of fire of its mothership, meaning that the Nile class is going to have to come and get it. And it's going to work out really, really well. Okay then, I don't have enough time to go through and do another ship, but what we can do is what we did the last time. We can take a look at the other vessels and determine what size they're going to be at least. So, like, Centauri battleships. Let's take a look at the Primus class first. And I mean, it is an absolute monster of a ship. I do love it. I really do. Centauri Primus class. No, wait, that's just battle cruiser. Here we go. And there's a nice picture for you too. So the Primus class cruiser is the mainstay of the Centauri Republic fleet. It was built by the House Tevari Armaments. A very powerful warship compared to its contemporaries. The only real weakness of the Primus is lack of fighter bay facilities. During the last days of the Narn Centauri War, several Primus-class battlecruisers were outfitted with outlawed mass drivers and were used in planetary bombardment of Narn. Again, we covered this before. Mass driver in Babylon 5 is different than mass driver in Starfinder. In Starfinder, a mass driver just means a high-caliber cannon. Okay? No explosive armaments or anything like that. It is just a very large slug accelerated to relativistic speed and used to punch through things, which is why mass drivers have line, I do believe, because they go through things. Mass driver, however, in Babylon 5 literally means that you are driving mass. What the ships would do is they would fly through an asteroid belt and they would pick up rocks. Big rocks. They would then drag them to a planet and just accelerate them forward and throw them at the planet. Remember, it was an asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs. Now imagine somebody sitting up in orbit with a starship dropping a few more dinosaur-killing asteroids on you. Even in the setting of Babylon 5, it is regarded as a war crime. It is indiscriminate. It is irreversible. It's one of the worst things that you could do to another species. It says the Primus' standard armament of 2 twin-barrel heavy pulse cannons allows it equal ability to deal with capital ships and fighters. Despite this, without fighter support, the Primus can quickly be overwhelmed by intense barrages of enemy fighters and a powerful defense grid. It says here that the primary weapons are 4 heavy X-ray lasers. We've seen those before. And Tuck says, there is at least one book where a colony on the moon was at war with Earth and it threw rocks at it. I've heard of that, I think. If I haven't heard of that directly, because I don't know the name of it off the top of my head, I've heard of things similar. And we've seen things like that before. Babylon 5 has the mass drivers, which again, are awful. The Expanse. It happened in The Expanse too. I realize that the show is older, but I'm not going to spoil anything if I can avoid it. But at any rate, one of the factions in The Expanse went to great lengths to actually throw asteroids at another one of them, and they did it to great effect. You actually get to see the aftermath of it, and basically the planet is plunged into nuclear winter because there's so much particulate in the air. It wrecks the planet, which is why it's a war crime. I'm also reminded of, in Gundam, the colony drop. I think it was in Gundam Wing, but I'm not positive. But anyway, in Gundam, humanity is expanding throughout the solar system, and a lot of people live in what are called O'Neill cylinders. These are cylindrical colonies. They spin to create gravity, and you live on the inside of the cylinder with a bright core that runs right through the middle that provides you your sunlight. And so it replicates an Earth environment on the inside. And I don't remember if they threw it at the moon or if they threw it at Earth or what happened, but they used their Gundams to push one of these O'Neill cylinders and just threw the entire colony at a planet. Which, of course, is, horrific, because not only are you dropping this entire colony on a planet, you're killing everyone inside at the same time. So, it's double the kills. It's awful. You just don't do it, okay? So that's the difference between Mass Drivers and Starfinder and Babylon 5. Anyway, it says that it has 4 heavy X-ray laser cannons, secondary is 4 twin particle cannons, 4 light particle cannons, and 1 mass driver, if fitted. We will not be fitting those. Okay, this is where things are going to get a little bit weird. See, here's the thing about my GMing style. I really, really try my best to never say no. That does not mean, however, that there are not consequences for actions. I try to allow my players the greatest amount of freedom and choice as I can. But I also act somewhat as a monkey's paw. I will allow my players to do just about everything, and I will usually gauge the consequences of that on how smart or how stupid it was. The smarter the action, usually the more beneficial it is. The dumber the action, usually the more harmful it is. And that is a very vague scale to work from. However, when it comes to something like a mass driver, would I tell my players no? I would absolutely not tell my players no, that they can't do that. I would probably have to work up a system. For a mass driver, it would require you to actually go find an asteroid and then capture it, which would probably be something as simple as a piloting maneuver. And then you could use it. However, when I say dumb, what I mean to say is that it's one of those things that if you got caught with it, that is the kind of thing that is going to alter the entire campaign. If somebody catches you with a mass driver installed on your ship, it's a little bit like getting caught with meth. Okay? It's illegal, but more than that, there's no good reason for you to have it. And so, there's no arguing your way out of this one. There's no way of trying to explain it. There's nothing else that you can do once you get caught. If you get caught with a mass driver on your ship, especially if you happen to have an asteroid that's latched onto it and ready to go, whoever caught you is going to say, there is no reason for you to have this system on board. And for what reason are you carrying an asteroid? You can't use it against other ships, because another ship would either be able to destroy it or simply avoid it. The only things that couldn't would be space stations, moons, and planets. All of which are not valid targets. So I'm not saying no. I am, however, saying you really, really shouldn't. And so, that's going to be where I leave that one. I'll work up a system for it, though. I'll work up a system. I don't know exactly how it's going to work. We'll work it up together, okay? We'll finish up the ships, and then we'll work on that together. Speaking of finishing up the ships, we're not going to finish these up today. There's still a lot of work I want to do. I want to figure out exactly how much more there is for this Primus. It does not give us a ton of information over here, but that's okay. It says it's only 735 meters, and this is their biggest ship, I think. Only 735 meters long is not a big ship, so it may actually be that cruiser size we were talking about. But even this says 8 ion cannons, 4 battle laser cannons, 4 light pulse cannons, 2 missile launchers, optional mass driver. We'll put something together. However, afterwards, once we get done with the Centauri, and the Centauri will only take us a day to do, that's when we're going to start on the League of Non-Aligned Worlds, which, I mean, just a quick peek forward. We've got races of the League, and then we've got ships of the League worlds, and this is all they've got here. There's the Avioki, whatever. There's a Brikiri ship, a couple of Drazi ships, and a couple of Vree ships. The Vree ships are what I have a player looking forward to because they're the flying saucers you see right here. We'll get into those. We'll have to do the Vorlon ships, we'll do the Shadow ships, and then after that we're done with ships. So, next week will be Centauri. After that, we'll probably run through the League. Maybe we can do that in a day. I'm not sure. The League might take us 2 days to go through, so we'll call that 2 to 3. The Vorlons, they only have basically 2, a fighter and a dreadnought. They take a little bit of transport too, but I mean, the fighter and the dreadnought, so that's a day. The Shadows, they have a fighter and the battle crab. That's a day, so we're looking at maybe another month working on ships, give or take. And then we can work on things like additional systems for like the mass driver. We'll get to hyperspace. That's your brief look forward. But we are out of time for today, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to end it here. I appreciate everybody coming out for this one. This one was fun. I like the Narn ships. I like how they work. I'm looking forward to this module when we get to play it. So, for now, I'm going to go ahead and say subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'm pretty sure that everyone here has, but, you know, future people that might see this, go ahead and subscribe. Hit the bell icon that we get notified every time these videos come out. If you know somebody else who's also into either Babylon 5 or Starfinder in general, go ahead and share this with them. But if you dislike me, like what I'm doing, leave a like on the video, leave a comment down below, but if you're going to leave a comment down below, go ahead and join the Discord. We have one. I know it's not popular right now, but these things pass. Join the Discord. Come to the Behind the Screen channel. Let me know what kind of games you want to play, what your availability is, and as soon as I have enough people, we'll get a game going. And just because I know they want me to plug it, right now, on Friday evenings, Eastern Time US, we are playing Star Trek The B Team. It is nearing its end. I mean, we've got maybe a couple of months more in this one. But if you want to come and join us, you can do that. We will help integrate you into the game. It's going to be fun. It is full of intrigue. It's full of mystery. It's also full of fun. They've had a lot of fun along the way. So, if you want to play with them, come and join us. Otherwise, though, I hope to see you back here next week. I hope to see you in the future. And until then, take care.